Because I'm not going to jump in my bag today because we got a dynamic interview that looks like she just joined us and we about to pull her in a minute. Thanks for joining in. She's waving to us. I'm going to bring her in a second. But before we bring her in, this beautiful young lady, she already smiling. I can see from here. Why don't you, Sizzle, why don't you tell us who do we have today?
So we have Chalet Jean-Baptiste.
Jean-Baptiste. Jean-Baptiste. Yeah, no doubt. Mm-hmm.
She's the author of 3 books, and she can speak on her expertise on various subjects, including the process of healing herself and forgiveness after divorce, which she caught her husband in bed with another woman, overcoming sexual molestation and abuse and the consequences that it had on her self-worth, esteem, and relationships, and the importance of telling your authentic story, pushing yourself to be vulnerable, free, and unashamed. She says 40 isn't the new 20. Somebody lied to us. She's a single mother. Her journey, she's a single mother's journey is what she talks about, to push past her fears of loneliness, to experience self-love and success without all the BS. Us women often settle for what we shouldn't because of fear of being alone and starting over. Huh. So, welcome to the show, Miss Jean-Baptiste.
Welcome to the show.
All your
joining us,
but it's all good, you know.
Say it again.
Huh?
What did she say?
I said, I'm so sad I didn't get to see you in person.
I know.
No, we gotta do a redo, you know.
Yes.
No doubt. Well, welcome to the show. I just want to welcome you to the show. And this is always my favorite segment of the show because we get the opportunity to speak to the good old folks, you know, and talk a little bit about their stories, but also when it comes to like people who look like us, I like to give them the opportunity to, you know, be a part of a platform that are getting some views, that are being I guess engaged and active citizens in the communities to give that outlet for people like yourself, the entrepreneur, and people again who has those stories. So again, welcome to the show. Really appreciate you. Absolutely. So let's jump right into, you know, you and some of the things that, you know, you're doing as it relates to your book first. And then before we get into that, right, let's talk about how you got there, those steps to make you say to yourself, you know what, this is what I want to do. This is something that I want to talk about.
Sure. Well, actually, this is my 3rd book. I've always been a writer by nature, so it was easy for me to, you know, make the decision to do this book because I have like been telling stories and been loving other people's stories for the longest time. Mm-hmm. So this last book that I did called Black from Scratch is actually a book that details Black people's stories. So we're actually, it's a photography coffee table book that has a lot of photography in it. You can see the pictures of people. That was important to me because I wanted to show Black people in all different kind of hues and shapes and sizes and with braided hair, with weaves, whatever you got, and how beautiful we are. And to also tell a piece of their story. And so to show that we're overcomers and that we can just innately in us, we have the ability to persevere and be great.
Right, fantastic. And so, you know, you have been seeing a lot of the things that's going on as we talk about perseverance and people who look like you, more specifically Black women of color, right?
Yeah.
What is your feelings on you know, getting, you know, empowering Black women and getting them into the entrepreneurship and the lane of even potentially writing a book?
I mean, I think it's so important that, you know, I don't know if you saw the movie Self-Made.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Did we lose her? There we go.
It's so powerful to show those type of movies that Black women are wonderful and successful entrepreneurs and what we have to overcome. But even before the movie came out, I always think it's important because of the times that we live in for Black women to understand that we must have our own, right? That we must have our own place, we must have our own space. and that we do have power. You know, we're not living in the 1950s, 1960s anymore, even 1970s, where our kind of existence depended on a man, right? And I think that, and even back then, our existence didn't depend on a man, but that was the story that was being told a lot, right? That we were dependent on a man for our success, for our names, for power. So I think it's very important that we show ourselves to be self-sufficient and powerful, and very able to do things in our own lane, with our own voice, with our own skin, and with everything that we maintain and come without. And now this is maybe controversial, without overstepping the power and the beauty and everything that a Black man can also bring to the table.
Right. Fantastic. Now, how do you feel when it comes to your comparison, or how do you feel like you're compared to Black men who potentially, well, not even Black men, but just men as it relates to becoming authors and having opportunities, so to speak, to be first in, becoming author versus women? Do you feel like there's a competition? Do you feel like they have more opportunities? What's your position on that?
I don't even believe in the word competition.
I know that's right.
I don't even believe in that word.
Good
You know what
job.
I'm
Good job.
saying? Because I feel like, brother and sister, if you bake a cake and I bake a cake, guess what? Your cake gonna taste different than mine. It don't mean that both our cakes are not good.
There
I
you
can
go.
support your cake. You can support mine too.
Mhm. Mhm.
The only thing that I believe in when it comes to competition is if you're trying to tear down somebody, right? And that to me is, has evil intentions attached to it. And it has jealousy most of the time, and envy when I'm trying to compete with you now because I want something that you have, or I feel like you're threatening me. I've gotten to this point in my life where I never feel threatened. I'm celebrating sisters and brothers that are writing books and becoming authors and that are entrepreneurs and doing businesses, because there's no one out there like you, and you are uniquely you. And so even if God gives the same message to 10 people, nobody can tell it like you. So no word, competition is not even in my vocabulary. And I'm an English professor, so.
Fantastic. So how does that, you being an author and looking at your students, do you feel a need or obligation to empower some of the, people, or some of the students to, do more than just go to school? Because, that's what we have been taught as long as we have been going to school. Go to school, get a job, work for somebody else, retire, 401k or your retirement, and then pretty much die. So what's your thoughts on that?
That's a great question, because I always tell my students the first day of class how I worked in corporate America. I was a writer before I became a professor, and I was there for 5 years. And I probably would have made, if I would have stayed there, because I was very young. I was maybe like 21. And if I'd have stayed there, I probably could have been a CEO by now, making 250,000. But I felt like, or more, maybe the first Black CEO of some companies. But I felt like it wasn't my calling. And so, I was doing this great thing. I was writing for this financial service firm, and I was doing great things. Um, it wasn't what I loved, and I wasn't really truly happy doing it. So I left the company, and I took a risk, became an adjunct professor, taught a little high school here and there before I actually landed into the job that I have now as the full-time professor. And I tell them that story because I want to let them know that, first of all, money should not choose your career, but also to let them know that everybody's path is different. So of course I want my students to go to school and get an education because it's the way of the world now, but everybody's not made for college education, right? Some people are great with their hands, some people are visual. And so I'm really encouraging my students to find your gifts, find your niche, and go with it, and don't let it go, and don't let the naysayers stop you. Me leaving a great job, a great company, was a risk. I struggled for a couple of years. I remember, because I had 2 children, and I was about to have another child. I had to, at one point, get Medicaid assistance just so my children would have health coverage, right? The children Medicaid program. But it was the greatest thing I did, because I pushed myself to my destiny, and I'm actually doing what I love. So yeah, it's not about school. I think at the end of the day, I always say college education teaches you more than what you learn in the classroom. it's also a learning about yourself, right? You grow just being in an environment with other people. Being challenged to be with people that may not think like you is a growth in itself. It's an education in itself. So I don't like when people think of school as just the classes that you take or the majors that you major in. Being in college to give you a holistic kind of education.
Mm. I love that. I love that. I love that you said that. If you in understanding that people make mistakes, right?
Yeah.
Uh as they grow up, because they get wisdom, they fall and they get back up, or they make a mistake and learn from that. What's one thing that you can say that if you could, what you know now, if you
Mhm.
knew then, what would you do differently?
Wow. I don't know if I would do anything differently. Another word I don't believe in is regret. So, I don't know if I would do too much differently because I think everything I went through had to prepare me. But if I would say anything I would do differently, I would choose wise relationships with people,
Mm.
friendships. I would be wiser in my choices because I made some dumb decisions, kind of just being young and dumb. And I was raised. My mother loved me. My father loved me. So I thought the world loved me. And then you find out the hard way that everybody don't love you. And some people are really jealous of you, believe it or not. And some people want to see you fail, even your brothers, okay, and your sisters, okay, because all skin ain't kin.
I know that's right.
And
Yes.
I had to learn that the hard way. So I would be more strategic in my relationships, and I would treat every moment like a precious moment. Because I remember I went to college at 16, so I went very young, and it was really just a way to get out of my house. I wanted to escape my mom. She was overprotective and very strict at that time, and I was like, yeah, it's freedom. But I went through it so fast, and I didn't enjoy those moments that everybody was having fun with, and I didn't. So when I look back, I'm like, oh, I wish I would have enjoyed that a little bit more and not been in such a rush to grow up and pay these bills that I'm paying now, right? So, yeah, relationships are important. Who I choose to be in relationship with, who I choose to be in connections with, being wise and strategic about that, and also, enjoying every moment of life. I look at my kids now who are teenagers, and I'm like, oh my God, I miss the moments that I wish I could go back and get. We just can't go back and get time.
So since you
Fantastic.
mentioned relationships, how did you heal yourself from how? Because I'm sure everyone wants to know. After you caught your husband in bed with another woman, how did you heal from that? Did you ever think that you would heal from that? And just talk about the forgiveness part.
Yes, that's a good question. I'm telling you, I never ever thought I would heal from that. I just want to be honest, okay? Like even when I look at myself now, I'm like, God, you brought me through that. Like, thank you. But I will tell you, it was time heals things. I accepted responsibility for my part. And not to say that I was at fault for whatever happened. That's not the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I accepted responsibility for me allowing certain things to happen that caused me to think that I deserve to be treated like that.
Wow.
For so long, because me catching him in the bed was just the icing on the cake.
Mm-hmm.
All know the signs. Usually it's not, we don't, usually doesn't hit us by surprise, right? We tend to overlook a lot of things. And then when we look back, you're like, well, I let him get away with this and this and this. And I thought this was okay. And so I had to really go through the process of healing myself, right? And so I went through therapy for a couple of years. That helped tremendously. I had a strong Black woman that really just gave it to me. She taught me about boundaries and loving myself, and so that was part of my healing process. Um, but also, just me praying and having a strong family, a strong support network of girlfriends that was like, girl, you don't deserve that. I know you got 3 kids by him in your home, and I know you love them, and you don't deserve that. So I think forgiveness is something that people always say, just forgive, and I always say that it's important to be angry first.
Mm-hmm.
That forgiveness is not just something that rolls off the tongue. Like it just doesn't happen like that. Don't let anybody lie to you, right? Um, I had to go through my process of grief and anger and being disappointed until I realized that this is just hurting me if I don't forgive him. It's just hurting me. I'm becoming more bitter if I don't learn how to forgive.
Wow.
Yeah, that's heavy. So let's talk about that. Let's bring that in a little bit. Let's expand that as it relates to, looks like we lost Classy Lady Sparkle. Spark, jump back on if you can. Um the moment, right? If you could, or this must be in your book, the whole process of you finding your husband in bed. That's in your book, right?
No, I don't talk about that whole thing.
Okay.
I just talk
Okay.
about the forgiveness part just a little bit. Yeah.
Okay. So why don't you I don't want to rehash some of the emotions,
No,
but
it's okay. I've
okay,
dealt
good.
with it. So
So let's walk through the point where you opened the door and did you know that this was happening and you came, or did you happen to, how did that work? How was that process?
well, it wasn't in my house, thank God,
Okay.
right? But it was still the pain is still real, because
Right.
we were still married, we had kids. We were actually separated, but we were still dealing as husband and wife, doing everything husband and wife does. And so he came to visit the kids, and he kind of used an excuse that he had to stay someplace else. So it kind of like alerted me like something's not right, right? And I had
Right.
just it early with the children. And when I came back later to speak to him, he was in the bed with somebody else sleeping. And they
Mm.
so let me say, okay, I feel blessed because I think of other women who have been in this situation and have snapped. And that is a snapping moment. Like you don't know
Right.
what you would
Yeah.
do if you were in that situation. Just trust
Yeah.
me on that. Because I
Yeah.
don't even remember some things that happened. Like I just turned red, literally. I don't even
Mm.
remember everything. I just remember going into a rage, right?
Wow. Right.
Um,
Right.
and it was like, how dare you? I was so hurt and devastated. And I call it one of my greatest blessings though when I talk about it because I was living a private lie
Mm.
actually. And after this happened, because I was a college professor and I was in the community, the local newspaper actually put up there like with a picture of me that I got arrested because, whatever I got into this altercation with my husband. Nobody, they didn't put in there I caught him in bed with a woman, right?
Of
So
course not.
of course not. That's how I'm
Wow.
worried. But it was, and at that time I was like so sick. I was like, God, maybe in my life I'm gonna lose everything I worked for. And I
Mm.
was feeling like dying, like this death had come upon me for that short moment. And I was like, not only am I lose my family, but I may lose my job. And I was just sick, and it forced me to look back. Though it forced
Right.
me to look back. How did I get here?
Mm.
And and I believe that God exposed that, so that way I was able to now decide that I wasn't gonna lie to myself anymore about anything. And that became the point in my life where I made the decision that it was better to be a public whatever than to be a private lie. You know?
Mm.
And
Wow.
I
And
was gonna live in my truth.
wow, unbelievable, unbelievable. Well,
A major.
salute to you for being that forgiving and that humble to even share that story, because I know that was a pretty heavy story. Now let's jump right into your book because I want to give you the opportunity to talk about that.
Okay.
Right? Let's just give us a little summary of the book. I don't want to get too far into the book because I want people to get that. But tell us the name of the book, tell everybody the name of the book, and give us a little summary.
Okay, great. I have 3 books actually. My first
Mhm.
book is called Black Dresses Stain, and that was basically a short story poetry book. It's really for women. It's really talking about different women in different situations, and it was geared to basically to talk about how women we go through so many things. So black dresses, if you wear a black dress and somebody throws something on it, you don't see the stain on it.
Mm.
So that was the whole concept behind it, was that as we as women, we wear the scars and nobody even knows it. We wear the mask very well, right? We keep on moving, we keep on ticking, even though we're hurting, we're in pain, and we don't even think that sometimes, especially as black women, that we need to get healing for our pain, right? Because we were taught through generations that we just deal with it, right? And then we have the strength for it, right? And so self-care is something that's so new to a lot of us black women because we just didn't do it, right?
Right.
We were obligated to our families and our husbands no matter what. So that Black Justice Stain talk gives a little goes into poetry and short stories of different profiles of women and just their struggles and what they're going through and how they go through relationships and how they love. And then my second book is ReLive. And ReLive was actually me coming through the divorce. And it was a process in which I felt like my spirit had died. And so I had to go through this process of reliving again, of really who am I? What do I love? What will I not tolerate anymore? Why did I accept the things I accepted in the past? What am I gonna do? I really had to felt like I was restarting my life. So that has mostly poetry in it about the death of one's spirit. How is one revived again? How does one begin to love again? And I also get into little political issues about Black men, Black women, things. How the society. Not only did I feel like I was dying, but I also felt like we were thrust into a society that they didn't want Black men to live anymore.
Yeah.
Wow. I have a question too. A lot of what you said is a very similar situation, even for myself. Divorce, finding my husband cheating. I have 4 kids. For you to have gone through that and then write that book, what was the premonition you had before you said, I need to share my story? Like, where were you? What was your mindset? Where in your life were you when you had that vision to say, this is what I need to get out?
Yeah, it was really a catharsis process for me, really a healing for me to write the book. I'm a writer, so it came easy for me to come up with. But I remember when I was first starting writing this book, and I was just like, I'm gonna write this book, I'm gonna tell a story, but my intentions was wrong. Like I was writing it because I just wanted everybody to know how hurt I was,
Right.
And I remember sitting up one day and I was thinking to myself, this can't be the end of your story. The book I couldn't finish the book. I don't know what happened. And it was because I hadn't really forgiven yet. If you see me and my ex together, you would think that nothing like this ever went down. We're friends, he's my boy, I mean, listen, we have a good relationship. He can come over for Christmas, Thanksgiving, we can talk to my parents, everything.
Wow.
So I felt like, oh my God, I have not forgiven him. So I knew that I could not release this book with that bitterness, bitterness is something that's so funny because you can try to hide it in the closet, but it will like bust out some kind of way, like it will be exposed in any, forum that you step on somebody's toe and they'll scream on you, what's wrong with you? Because they're just mad and they're just bitter, and so I felt like before I could release this book, I couldn't call the book ReLive and still be spiritually dead, right? I had to go through that process of forgiveness and realize who I am so that I could relive. Like I look back, I would never even want that life that I had before because I never took pictures of myself. I forgot how beautiful I was. I was always uptight and angry and screaming and it's a different person. I didn't laugh like I do now. So my joy had been like sucked out of me, And so it was something about doing this book that allowed me to release that anger, release that pain, but also show that you can get to the other side of that.
Interesting. And you know what? It shows all around you. The aura that you have shows that you're very, very happy, very open. And how could, for a sister who's watching, what would you tell her if she's stuck in a space and feel that she's very unhappy, that she needs to get over that hump? What would you tell her? What advice would you give?
That's a great question because in this time we're dealing with the coronavirus kind of thing. People we take for granted the people that are stuck in houses and abusive situations. Sometimes your abusers, it's we can live the lie and we can fake the funk when we going to work and you know what I'm saying, we going out with our friends and we can go to the bars and it's easier for us to wear the mask, right? But when we are home with the abuser because we're quarantined or something's going on, you're forced to look at yourself. And I always say, I'll say what was done to me, what my father said and my mother said to me, and I'll say to my girlfriends when they're in abusive situations. I never bring up the other person, first of all. because they don't matter, really. And the moment you decide to bring up the other person, you usually find out that the communication gets defensive, right? Because this person is always trying to take it. Usually abusive situations, the person is always going to take up for the other person or say, oh, it's not always like that. Oh, he loves me. Oh, he did this. You know, they always find the good in this situation. But what I do is I focus on the person. I remember when I was going through something in my marriage and my father came to me and he said, tell me what I did to you as a father to make you think that it's okay to accept it. And so my father, who's always been there for me, always been great man, you know? And that made me think, you know? And so I say the same thing to my friends. What is inside of you that makes you think you can accept that? This is who you are as a person. This is who you are as a friend. You're loving, you're giving. So why do you feel like you can accept something that's other than what your spirit is? You know? And so I always focus to the person. I always focus on their characteristic and who they are and what they deserve. And never what the other person is doing, because usually that just brings a bad result anyway, you know? But I want them to think, you know, even when I challenge my students, I want them to think, right? I'm asking them questions. So why do you accept this? Why? But this is not who you are. This is what you've done in the past. So I think that's my roadmap for people that are in abusive situations. Study who you are first. You know, and sometimes when we don't know who we are and we don't love ourselves properly, we don't even see our own worth. So I always say, upgrade yourself. Take yourself out. When I started taking myself out, going to take myself to the movies and dinner,
that's right. I do that all the time.
I started taking myself, and I'm like, oh, I'm not that bad.
That's right.
I'm still son over here, you know? Somebody, you know?
That's right.
Looking at other things in a different way, I realized that I didn't deserve the treatment that I was getting.
Fantastic. You brought up the coronavirus. I only have a couple more questions. I know we had you here for so long, and I know your time is highly sought after. Perfect. So you brought up the coronavirus, and I think you brought up an excellent point as it relates to people who are in these times. You're stuck in quarantine. You're stuck in the house, potentially with an abuser, male or female, right?
Yeah.
And at that point, feelings and emotions are heightened because you're stuck there and it's nothing to do. What advice would you give to someone like that that's, just nervous or terrified that, if they breathe wrong, that something can happen, they can be abused?
I always say focus on have an exit plan. Number one, have an exit plan. When you realize and you start living in your truth and you realize this is not where you want to be, have an exit plan. And sometimes that exit plan is not going to be pretty, and sometimes it's going to be scary, and sometimes you have to take risks and do things that you don't like. But I never have known someone who's taken great risks to fail, especially when you come out of an abusive situation. There's no way you can go but up. Because you don't even realize what you're in when you're in a bad situation, right? You don't even realize how much you're being abused. And I mean, when I got out of my situation and I was able to breathe, I was like, is this what air feels like? It was like another breath that I was able to take, and I was like, oh God, this joy I got, nobody can take this away. I would never go back to that place,
Hallelujah.
So have an exit plan. Live in your truth. Stop making excuses for someone who's abusing you. Stop doing it. Stop always looking at the positive things. Look at what it is. Make a list to yourself. Right. Don't feed into negativity. Right. What you feed is what you will become. Right. So even if you're in an abusive situation, feed the positive. If that means saying affirmations to yourself, talking to yourself, going in the bathroom, reading books, whatever you have to do, find a space and a place that's yours, even if it's a corner of a room, and speak to yourself and tell yourself, I will get out of this situation because I am somebody. I deserve better. I am who God created to be. I am uniquely and beautifully made. Even if you don't believe it.
Yes.
Hello. I know that's right.
No,
Geez, I'm about
no,
to go and
I heard you,
exercise.
sister. I do, because everything you're saying, and people don't know, I'm a very transparent person, but I haven't shared certain things in my life of that. And those are some of the tactics that I had to do to myself. Like, you had those self-doubt conversations with yourself. Oh, you're not this and you're not good enough. And you have to talk to yourself and say, I am good enough. We're going to do this. I am going to make it. So definitely. And I know people that we are in thousands and some millions household, and somebody today that's being quarantined, that's going through that, needed to hear exactly what you said. So I thank you for that.
And
I
I
know that's
saw
right.
something they were talking about, like the divorce rates could be going up after this quarantine.
Yeah, you're gonna be tired of them after this. Y'all done seen
You know what?
you know that.
Divorces are hard, but sometimes they're necessary because nobody wants people. This is not. Listen, the church needs to stop it. We ain't telling people to stay in abusive relationships.
That's
I
right.
know that's right.
Okay,
I
that
know
ain't
that's right.
God.
Mm-mm.
All right, that
I
ain't
know
God.
that's right.
Okay, and you know, I know that. All right, and so you know, and and loving yourself is a process, just like forgiveness. So it takes time, you know, and but the more you seek it, one day you wake up and you will become it. There's a saying that says, "Don't just fake it till you make it. Fake it until you become it."
That's
I
right.
believe that.
Awesome.
I love that. I love that. So real quick, just to stay on the line of the coronavirus because it's so prevalent right now. Where are you located right now?
I'm outside of DC. So I'm in Northern
You
Virginia area. Yeah.
okay. So how is the climate there with the lockdowns, quarantines, all of that?
You know, it's so quiet. You know, I mean, really, to tell you the truth, it's been like really weird because I'm an extroverted introvert. You know, I like to be in the house and chilling too, but I want to be there when I choose to be there, not when I'm forced, right?
Right.
I like to get out and talk to strangers. I'm from New York City, so we're used to that. You know, that kind of environment. So it does feel weird, and you know, I just, you know, I've gotten so many phone calls in the last couple of weeks of people who are suffering not only because they don't know where their paycheck is coming from emotionally, but suffering because they're forced to deal with their own truth, right?
Right.
You talking about like churches being shut down, right? I mean, people, we don't think about this, but people use churches as emotional healing, which is not always a great thing because emotion, anything with emotions can come and go, right? They're like temporary emotional healings and not like permanent life changing moments for them. You know, and so now churches are shut down, and so everything that you can do to escape your reality is not there anymore.
Yeah.
And so I think this is important, a time that you really take time to look at yourself, reassess your life, reset. I mean, it seems like we're going through a reset anyway. So
Right.
reset everything, reset your goals, reset your ambitions. I mean, even if you like everything that's going on in your life, you can always have a reset, you know, and you can always start over. It's never too late to change your story. And
I
so
love
I
that.
think that that's the message that people need to know during this coronavirus, whether you're in a dark corner somewhere crying your eyes out because you don't know which way to turn, or you live in life that you think to the fullest, or you don't know where your next paycheck is coming from, or you just scared you're sick. Don't live in fear, live by faith, and speak to yourself every day. Speak to yourself and believe it. It will manifest in your life.
I love that. I love that. A couple more questions. Lawrence says, I'm gonna throw you just a little curveball to just jump into another topic that we spoke to because it appears that I'm not sure. Are you wearing like micro braids right now?
Yes, I am, honey.
Yes.
I'm brave, honey. Oh
I
no,
know.
in my
So
next year. What? I can do all of those.
I know that's right. And so, we had right before you came on, the Sizzle introduced a story that she spoke about. She does our entertainment news, and she talked about how Kim Kardashian has been getting some backlash about her braids. She called them, what did she call them, Lauren? Her say that again. Her Bo Derek braids, right? And so the world pretty much, of course, the sisters jumped in and was like, wait, they was about to tear a new one, right? And so she was said to again be culture appropriating,
Yes.
right? What is your thoughts about women who are not of melanin, right? They tend to, want to look very similar to the sisters. What do you say about that? Do you believe it's a cultural appropriation? Do you believe that it's, they just want to fit in? Do you believe it's just another style choice? What's your thoughts on it?
I definitely think it's cultural appropriation. It's been happening since the beginning of time.
Yeah.
The Kardashians especially do that all the time.
Especially.
Do it. They don't want nobody that ain't no black man. You know what I'm saying? So she has now mixed children, right? That are black, right?
Right.
So, she is, and in some ways she fit herself into a part of the culture. But listen, I think there's a thin line that people have to be careful with, because Kim Kardashian is not a black woman,
Right.
and when you get enough money and enough power, enough influence, you can convince yourself you whatever you think you are. But she don't got to go through half the problems that black women today have to go through just because of the way she looks, okay? Yeah. So, honey child, go through that, okay? Okay.
So
down, okay?
I know that's right. So they asked Brandy and her brother Ray J about what their thoughts, and Ray J kind of said that black women should be, what was the word, quote, thankful.
Compliment.
Yeah, black women should take that as a compliment. What's your thought?
Actually, she should be thanking us. It's the other way around.
And that's what I say. Yeah. I think, she doesn't give homage to the black women.
That's a problem with our black men, because if he answered like that, I got a problem with him, okay? Because he got a black mother, all right, honey? Okay, no. You thank us, okay? Because you're the beauty standard for us. We are obviously the beauty standard for you, though.
I know that's right. I know that. Well, I want to thank you for coming on the show. How about that?
Yes. I can't wait to meet you guys in person. We got to do a part 2.
Absolutely. Definitely. We'll do it anytime. You're a friend. We always say you're a friend to the show anytime we interview. So anytime you want to come on, just send us a shout.
Where do I find your books?
Okay.
No, you have one right there.
I have one of them here.
Okay.
The other one's somewhere around here. Oh, wait, I have another one, Black from Scratch. You can find all my books on Amazon, though.
Awesome.
Yes. This is a coffee table book, very thick, and has all black people in it and their stories.
Oh, love it.
Yes, we have their stories are in here. So let's try to focus on black people. Excuse my nails. You know that the beauty salons are closed. So. Right now, it's
okay. That's funny.
We all facing it. Listen. We all facing it.
You know what I'm saying? It's okay. It's okay.
Let me see, Sizzle. Hold them up.
Like the growth, like
look, that growth. Like, are you kidding me?
Right, exactly.
Well, I'm glad I don't have to worry about that, so that's a good thing. So before we let you go, where can they find your book and everything, and how can they get in contact with you?
Sure. All my books are on Amazon. I also have my own website, chaletswits.com. So it's spelled CHALETS wits, WITS.com, and it's all one word. You can find about all my products and things there. But I'm also very active on Instagram. So Chalet JeanBaptiste. So Chalet CHALET JeanBaptiste, and on Facebook also. So just look me up, look up my name by Facebook. I would love to connect with all you guys. I'm so excited. Thank you for having me. It's wonderful.
Thank you for coming. We really appreciate you, and it's one of those things, man. When it comes to like our people, I think that we have to always give a platform and always support each other, because that's how it works, right? And so I would implore you to follow all our social media in addition to YouTube, and when this go out, you'll see your episode on here, and we really appreciate you for coming. Is there anything else you want to say before we let you go?
I just want to say thank you. I love the opportunity. I love to see the beautiful black men and women in the room doing great things. And remember that no matter what stage, age, position you are in life, it is never too late to change your story.
Awesome.
I know that's right. And that puts the exclamation on the words, on a period, the sentence, everything. And we really appreciate you for coming down. And so, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, we have to go. We're going to cut to a little break. And remember, this is WPPM LP Philadelphia 106.5 FM. And this is We Talk Weeklies After the Talk with your boy Charles Gregory and the beautiful
Lauren Sizzle.
and the beautiful
Lady Sparkle.
and the beautiful. and we'll be right back. Y'all don't go to where we'll be right back after this. Hello. And Sizzle, give us some music a little bit. We'll talk over it.
What's up, you guys? It's your girl Lauren Sizzle and Classy Lady Sparkle. And have you subscribed to our channel yet?
If the answer is no, you need to subscribe now.
Yeah, so stop what you're doing. Go right now and subscribe. We like you. You like us. So go ahead and subscribe.
Come on over. Be a part of the family of We Talk Weekly and subscribe to our YouTube channel.
So what are you waiting for? Subscribe
now.